The next one is we're going to talk about now the lighting techniques as a photographer. You have to check around. Remember, photography surrounds or resonates around lighting. So you have to check around which kind of lighting you're going to take your picture. One of them is natural lighting, which refers to the practice of capturing photographs using only available natural light source, such as sunlight or ambient light from sources like windows and open doors. This style of photography is characterized by its reliance on the sun's position, weather conditions, and the quality of natural lighting to illuminate the subjects. Natural lighting photography has several advantages and considerations, and I will mention them in a few. Now, the natural lighting goes up to the clouds. Remember, different sets of clouds also. They also set different lighting for different pictures. So natural lighting, you will base on sunlight and ambient lighting from sources like windows and open doors. Why is it important to use natural lighting? One of them is for quality and direction of light. Now, the quality, direction, and intensity of natural lighting can vary significantly depending on the time of day, weather, and location. Photographers need to understand how these factors affect their images. And remember, as a photographer, you should always be against the light when you're taking a picture. Where the sun is where you'll always be. You'll never be like with we can say that the opposite direction. Like the sun is on the right, you on the left. It will not work. That picture will not be good. And first of all, when you're going out to shoot in natural lighting, you have to understand where the sun is. Let's start by taking a look at if it's midday, the sun will be at the center. So which basically means there you have to look for ways of balancing that light, because that will be hard light, which means when you're taking pictures, shadows will be presented in the faces of the subject because the sun is directly above them. So you have to understand the direction of the light and how you're going to do it. Now, when you're literally taking pictures in natural lighting, you have to look at the movement of the light or the sun, basically, because you'll be focusing on the sun, because the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So the sun will be moving in clockwise direction, moving from one point to the next point. So you have to understand, midday, the sun will be at the center, but as time goes to around 2 p.m., the sun will be moving as it heads to set in the west. So you will be, where the sun is where you as a photographer, you should be. Now, let's talk about the different types of lighting that come around with natural lighting. We can say sun and the ambience. One of them is golden hours. Many photographers prefer shooting during the golden hours, that is early morning or late afternoon, when the sun is lower in the sky, producing a warm and soft light. The golden hours, we as a photographer, or we as photographers, these are moments, they always say, these are moments we live for. These are moments we wake up to ensure that we capture. Golden hours is when now the sun is rising and then it's also going to set. Now this is where you get your pictures very well. So as a photographer, you're able to also try to take pictures in these golden hours. And then we also have overcast days that can provide diffuse lighting that's great for portraits and macro photography. The clouds act as natural diffusers. These are days that you see that we have a number of clouds that are just hanging. They're even, they've created a different set of lighting, and they act as diffusers. And the overcast days, we can say that days like maybe it's going to be rainy, but the rain is not yet out. So these are days you just rush out and take beautiful pictures, because already the clouds have made we can say that the light not to be had, because they act as diffusers. And we also have harsh light, direct sunlight at midday. And I started by talking about it because it is one that disturbs a lot of photographers. It creates shadows and contrast, and photographers may need to use reflectors. We shall get to talk about reflectors later on, or diffusers, to soften the light or position subjects in the shade. Midday, I can advise you as a photographer, if you don't have reflectors or soft boxes or a speed light or an add-on flash, what you do, just look for a shade and take a picture, because at this time is when shadows are very harsh, because the sun is directly above the subject. Now, when it comes to white balancing, different natural light sources can have varying color temperatures. Now, it is essential to adjust the camera's white balance setting accordingly, or correct it in post-processing. But most photographers prefer using auto white balance, but you can also be able to use daylight or shade. You can also be able to do Kelvins on your own, from 5200 to 5600, moving up based on the outcome you want. And also exposure control. In challenging lighting conditions, photographers must understand exposure settings, the ones we talked about: aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, to achieve proper exposure. Now, when you're shooting in natural lighting, remember there will be exposure problems. So you have to understand how you're going to control exposure problems. You have to grasp the settings of the exposure triangle that has the aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. Now, photographers also have to use backlighting, whereby it's used to create striking silhouettes or add a halo effect around subjects. It requires careful exposure and composition. I'm sure you've been able to see a picture whereby you can only be able to see the shape of the body, but the picture itself is dark. That kind of picture is called a silhouette. And most of the time, this picture is taken during the golden hours, when the sun is going to set or when the sun is rising. So you can only achieve to get a silhouette photo using natural lighting. Also, while shooting in natural lighting, you should have reflectors and diffusers. These tools can help control and shape natural light, bouncing it onto the subject or diffusing it to create softer shadows. Remember, reflectors and diffusers are just there to help you get a sharper image, and you do away with shadows, especially when you're shooting in natural lighting, whereby now the sun is the only source of light. And also, you should be able to understand composition, which becomes very crucial in natural lighting photography, because photographers need to position subjects and frame shots to make the most of available light. One, it's natural lighting. We cannot control it. It is lighting from above, from the sun. So you as a photographer, you should be able to position the subject in a way that you will get the best out of the picture. If you don't have reflectors or diffusers, then take the subject to a shadow and get the best out of the lighting. Now let's take a look at advantages of natural lighting. One of them is a soft and flattering light, whereby especially during the golden hours, shortly after sunrise and before sunset, provides soft and diffused lighting that can enhance skin tones and create pleasing, flattering look on subjects. So remember, natural lighting has its own advantages because it is natural, as it's named. You're not using any other source. It's lighting that is available for the day. Another thing why it's good to use natural lighting, or the advantages of using natural lighting, it is cost effective because you do not require to pay for the light. The light is there, it is available. You don't have to look for someone to connect you so that you can be able to have the light. You don't have to look for a source for you to get the lighting. No, the lighting is there and available for you, and it is often you don't have to have a budget. You don't have to pay for it. So it's you and your camera and your subject. You go out and make good use of natural lighting. Another thing is authentic and natural look. Now remember, when you're taking a picture in natural lighting, you'll get an authentic look. You'll get the picture as it is. You'll get the subject as the way they are, because natural light helps convey a sense of realism and authenticity in photographs, and is often mirrors how we perceive the world with our own eyes. In natural lighting, you are able to show people to show people how they are and how they look and how the world sees them, because you are using natural light to take the pictures. The other thing is versatility. Natural lighting can be used in various photography genres, including portrait, landscape, street, and documentary photography, because in natural lighting, you don't have to move this light. This light is available. It is there. So the only thing you have to do is present yourself, take a position, take your picture, because you don't have to move it. You just move with the way the sun is moving as it heads to set. Now, it also helps photographers move with minimal gears, whereby you don't have to carry an equipment, typically relying on their camera, lenses, and reflectors or diffusers to control and manipulate light. This is why you only carry a few of your things to go out and take the pictures. Now, let's take a look at the other set of lighting. This one is the studio lighting. Most people call it artificial lighting. It is used to illuminate subjects and scenes for photography or videography. Unlike natural light photography, where photographers rely on available daylight, studio lighting allows for precise control over the direction, intensity, color, and quality of light. This control enables photographers and cinematographers to achieve specific lighting effects, moods, and creative vision. And here are key aspects of studio lighting. Remember, studio lighting, you're the one who is controlling your lighting. So if you want your lighting to be on the left, let me just use simple terms. On the left, the right, or in front of the subject or the back of the subject, you are the one who controls the exposure of your picture, the direction of your lighting, the color of your lighting. So this is where natural lighting doesn't come in play. And it involves various types of lighting source, including studio strobes, also known as studio flashes, and monolights, and continuous lighting such as tungsten or LED lights, and modifiers like softboxes, umbrellas, and reflectors. Remember, light modifiers are essential in studio lighting setups. Remember, you are the one who is literally setting up your light. And by setting up your light, you using equipments to help you set up this light so that it can match whatever you want. And one of them is the use of light modifiers, which include softboxes, which they fuse and soften light for flattering, even illumination. The next one is umbrellas that reflect or shoot light through for a soft, widespread light. And the next one is reflectors that bounce and direct light to fill in shadows. Now, the next one that we are going to talk about is the types of studio lighting. One of them is three-point lighting. This is a fundamental setup consisting of a key light, fill light, and a backlight to create depth and dimension in portraits and video. Now, the other one is high key lighting that is characterized by bright, even lighting to eliminate shadows and create a clean, upbeat look, often used in fashion and product photography, whereby now there is a background light. The subject is at the center of, we have close to 4 lights, and the subject is at the center of the 4 lights. One of the light acts as a background light. The other one also acts as a background light, and we have a fill-in and a key light. the background light comes in, trying to kill the shadows, same as the key light and the fill-in. So the high key lighting, this is where now you've set the studio ablaze, because you have 4 lights illuminating one subject. The next one is low key lighting, which emphasizes contrast and shadows, creating a dramatic and moody atmosphere, often used in film or portrait photography, whereby the key light is in front, we can say that not in front, but the camera is in front of the subject and the key light is next to the subject, and there is no light at the background. Then we have another one called the Rembrandt lighting, a style named after the Dutch painter Rembrandt, known for the distinctive triangle-shaped light on the subject's cheek, created using a key light and a reflector or fill-in. Then we also have the butterfly lighting, which creates a butterfly-shaped shadow and the subject's nose, often used in beauty and portrait photography. Now, the other one is, let's talk about the speedlight lighting techniques. We're going to go through the techniques now. This one over here, one that I have, is an add-on or a speedlight, and we also have the ones that are inbuilt on the camera. Now, using flash effectively in photography is a valuable skill that can significantly improve your images. Whether you are working with a built-in flash or an inbuilt flash or an external flash unit, just like this one here, here are some of the tips that can help you improve your speedlight game, for lack of a better word. Now, before diving into flash photography, learn the fundamentals of how flash works. This is whereby you get to learn the basics of a speedlight, including concepts like flash power, flash duration, and flash synchronization speed. And the external flashes provide more control and versatility. This is the one over here. Using the external flash, you have control of the illumination of your picture. So it's advised to use this one than to use the inbuilt flash on the camera. Bounce flash, whereby bouncing the flash walls or ceilings can create soft diffuse light that reduces harsh shadows and produces a more flattering look. Many external flashes have a swiveling and tilting head for this purpose. The other thing is touch diffusers, soft boxes, bounce cards, and gels to your flash to modify the quality, color, and direction of the light. These modifiers help create different lighting effects and modes. Also, to use the flash effectively, you have to know the control flash power. This is adjusting the flash power output or the flash exposure compensation to achieve the desired level of illumination. Lower power settings can produce spattle fill light, while higher settings can provide more dramatic effects. Now, balance flash with ambient light. To avoid a flashy look, adjust your camera settings, that is the shutter speed, the aperture, and ISO, which we call the shutter triangle, to balance flash and ambient light. This is crucial for achieving a natural look. Use flash for portraits. In portrait photography, use flash as fill light to reduce shadows on your subject's face, especially when shooting outdoors in bright sunlight. This helps achieve even flattering lighting. Now, off-camera flash setups, you should also be able to understand or experiment with off-camera flash setups for more creative control. Use wireless triggers or cables to position the flash at different angles and distances from your subjects. This is where now you have a trigger that has a transmitter, and you can also have a receiver, or you can have a wireless speedlight that connects directly to the transmitter, and you use a trigger and you position your speedlight at a different angle. The other one, you have to master flash modes, whereby understand and use the various flash modes your camera and flash offer, such as the TTL through the lens, manual mode and high-speed synchronization mode. You'll also be able to use flash for macro photography, whereby flash can be used for capturing close-up and macro shots, providing ample lighting and helping freeze motion. This is where now maybe you're going to take a picture of an insect. The flash will help you to be able to illuminate the subject, that is the insect, and also avoid red eye. Remember, when you're taking pictures with the flash and the flash is directed to the subjects, you may see some red eyes on the subject. And also learn flash bracketing, whereby now flash bracketing involves taking multiple shots at different flash outputs levels quickly. This can help ensure capture a well exposed image and ensure that you have the correct flash power. Now, this is basically whereby you'll be able to take pictures in low light, in highlight, and moderate light. You can be able to see how different setups come up for your post-processing or your editing time. Now, how to use the flash effectively, you have to experiment and practice, whereby flash photography often involves trial and error. Experiment with different flash settings, modifiers, and techniques to develop your skills and discover what works best for your style. The next one is study and seek inspiration, whereby study the work of experienced flash photographers and attend workshops or courses to learn advanced flash techniques and creative lighting setups. Now, speedlight settings can vary between different models and brands of external flash units, also known as speedlights or strobes. However, many common settings and features are found across various speedlights. Here are the key speedlight settings you should be familiar with. That is the power output. Now, you have to adjust the flash power output to control the intensity of light it emits. This is usually done using fractional values like 1/1, which is full power, 1/2, 1/4, 1/8, so on up to 1/28, which is the lowest power. Reducing the power output is useful for creating softer or more subtle lighting. This is whereby now when the flash is at 1/1, it is at full power, which means it emits more light. And when it's at 1/28, it means it is at lower power, which means it emits low power, which definitely at times it may not illuminate your subject. Now, the next one you have to understand is the flash mode. Speedlights typically offer different flash modes, including the TTL, famously known as the through the lens mode. In TTL mode, the flash communicates with your camera to automatically determine and adjust the flash output based on the scene's lighting conditions. This is where now the add-on communicates with the length, the lens in regards to the length, and then it illuminates or emits the light that will be used to illuminate the subject. The next one is the manual mode. In the manual mode, you set the flash output power manually, giving you full control over the lighting intensity. So you have to vary, it varies from 1/1 to 1/28. You can also go to 1/8 or an eighth, as many people like to say, and then up to 1/28. They also have multi-mode, which is stroboscopic. This mode allows you to create a series of rapid flash bursts in a single exposure, which can be used for creative settings. You must also be able to know flash compensation, which allows you to adjust the flash output power independently of the camera's exposure settings. Use it to increase or decrease the flash contribution to the exposure. This is where you should be able to understand how to control this without having to control camera exposure settings, like you delink them together. Then we have the flash synchronization speed, which is setting the flash sync speed to match your camera's sync speed. This ensures that the flash fires at the correct time relative to the camera's shutter speed. This is basically the communication between the add-on and the camera. Mostly, They do communicate at 1/200 or 1/250, which basically means that the communication between the camera and the add-on will be instant, therefore emitting light on time. Now, the next one we're going to talk about is using filters, that is the ND and the polarizers. Now, using filters such as the ND, famously known as natural density filters, and polarizers is a valuable technique in photography for achieving specific creative effects and embracing or enhancing image quality. Here's how to use filters effectively. I'll start by talking about the natural density filters, famously known as the ND. Now, the purpose for this filter is to reduce the amount of light entering the camera without affecting the color or quality of the light. They are used to achieve longer exposures, control motion, and work with wide apertures in bright conditions, which basically means that they reduce the lighting. You don't have to reduce the settings or get to the camera, try to see how you can reduce the lighting. The ND filter helps you reduce the light without getting to change some of the settings that you have. Types of the ND filters, they come in various strengths, usually measured in stops. That is ND2, ND4, ND8, ND16. The higher the number, the more light the filter blocks. The common uses for the filter, that is the ND filter, is to deal with long exposures, wide aperture in bright light, motion blur, and this is how you're supposed to use the ND filters, where you attach the filter to the front of your lens. Set your camera to manual mode or aperture priority mode. Set your desired aperture and shutter speed for a desired creative effect. Adjust the ISO as needed to achieve the proper exposure. Focus and compose your shot. Take the photo while keeping the camera stable on the tripod to avoid camera shake during long exposures. Now let's talk about polarizers or polarizing filters. Polarizing filters, also known as CPL, that is circular polarizing filters, are used to reduce reflections, enhance colors, and control glare in your photos. They work by selectively blocking polarized light waves. Now, the common use, reducing glare reflections, enhancing colors, also improving contrast, and this is how you are supposed to use the filter, the polarizing filter. Attach the polarizing filter to your lens. Rotate the filter to adjust the intensity of the effect. You will see the changes in reflections and color saturation as you turn the filter. Now, how to be able to invest or how to use filters? First of all, you have to invest in high filters to maintain the image quality and avoid color shifts. Be cautious when stacking multiple filters. Remember, you should not be able to put multiple filters on the lens. This can lead to vignetting or reduced image quality. Always clean your filters to prevent dust and smudges from affecting your photos. Use a filter holder system. We've talked about a number of issues in terms of how you can become a good photographer, what you can be able to do, the kind of jobs you can be able to get if you become a photographer, the camera anatomy, how you can be able to operate different settings when it comes to camera operation, how you can be able to differentiate between lens, how you can be able to use filters. We're going to take a look at photo editing and post-processing. We have common editing softwares, which are Lightroom, Adobe Photoshop, and Capture One. They are used in editing and post-processing of pictures. Why it is important to edit is because it enhances image quality, that is one. It creates expression, that is two, and corrects and improves the picture in terms of how the picture was taken. It helps in image optimization for different mediums, the aspect ratio. It also helps in dynamic range expansion, noise reduction, color correction and grading, cropping and composition. You can be able to search for specific photos in large collections. Batch processing, whereby multiple images at once, that is the likes of Lightroom. Preservation of originals. Editing software typically works with non-destructive editing, meaning it saves changes separately from the original image. Learning and growth. Editing is an essential part of the photographic process. Remember this, that learning to use editing tools effectively is an important skill for photographers, allowing them to evolve and grow in the craft. Now, there are three important aspects in photography. One of them is composition, which is one of the fundamental building blocks of photography. It involves how you arrange elements within the keyframe or the frame to create visually pleasing and meaningful image. These are just some of the key elements of composition. One of them is the rule of thirds, whereby you divide your frame into grid of 9 equal parts by drawing 2 horizontal and 2 vertical lines. Place your main subject or points of interest at the intersections of these lines or along the lines themselves to create a balanced, visually appealing composition. This helps in getting to know how you're going to frame the picture. Foreground and the background, you have to be specific when you do that. And also negative space, you should be able to do away with negative space when it comes to photo taking. Maybe this is after editing. Lighting, you have to know the quality of light. That is different light such as natural sunlight, diffused light, or an overcast day, or an artificial lighting. You have to be able to differentiate for you to be a good photographer. You should be able to know the golden hour and the blue hour, as mentioned earlier. Golden hour, this is during sunset or sunrise. You should be able to know the filling and shadows and how to do away with them. You should be able to know the difference between harsh and soft light. And the last one is subject and storytelling. When you take a picture, your subject should be able to tell emotion and connection, should be able to point a view, should be able to context and narrate, should be able to be simple, and should be personal. Now, I hope that now you can be able now to get out and take pictures. You can be able now to get out and understand the language that photographers use each single day. They're out taking pictures. You now know of camera anatomy. You now know of the camera that is the exposure triangle, the exposure metering. You now know of the lighting settings. You now know of the editing softwares. And now that I know you now marinated and ready to be a pro photographer. That is just the end for our class today. Thank you very much. My name is Brian Alusa. Let's meet next time, same place. That is, keep it Jensen.